watching this wind blow, and I'm watching the rain, and I'm watching this love grow. No more heartache or pain, 'cause this is real. This is real. This is and I'm staying for change, and I'm feeling kinda naughty. I'm glad to say that nothing has changed, and I'm watching our love grow. I'm watching the kids go mad.
As good as it gets, yes. Kia ora tātou, everyone. A warm welcome to this year's conference. Fantastic to see you all here, to see so many familiar faces and some new ones. This is your first time at the Connections Conference. I do warmly welcome you. It's wonderful to see so many chairs and directors in the audience as well. That connection and alignment between government and management is absolutely critical. And your involvement and contribution the next 2 days is important and really welcome. Thank you. Also like to acknowledge and thank a number of other important sector partners that are in the room today. Local councils, the gaming trusts, community trusts, tertiary, TAB, Lotto, and other government agencies. It's great to have you here, and I do acknowledge the critical role that your organisations play in our sector, and it's great that you are here with us for the next 2 days. Hard to think that a year ago we were all in Christchurch together at the conference there, and I think if you remember, the highlight of the conference was that the Royals were in Christchurch at that time. They were outside our hotel opening, doing some sort of ceremonial event around the Cricket World Cup, or how quickly a year comes round. So when we reflect on the last 6 weeks, I know we came up short in Melbourne. I'd have to say, though, that the Cricket World Cup, I don't know if David White's here, but to cricket and Therese Walsh and a team, I really genuinely think that they set this country alight. There's not too many things in this world that can unite a country, a community, workplaces, families as their sport. They always say it's war or natural disaster. So we're fortunate to work in an industry that is able to do that on a regular basis. So I think what the cricketers did, what Mike Hesson and the team did was quite remarkable. So congratulations to them, and thank them very much for taking us on an amazing journey for that 6 weeks. Such is the power of sport. We've come here today in the conference to focus on the customer. That's the participant, the athlete, the coach, the fan, and their changing needs. In my view, I think it's one of the biggest issues that is facing all of us in this room. If you truly want to future-proof your organisation and as a sector, I think we need to recognise and understand and respond to the changing needs, changing customer expectations and motivations. I think Dave and his team have pulled together a wonderful program here, and I think that'll both entertain, challenge, make you slightly uncomfortable in some occasions, but overall it'll be entertaining and very thought-provoking. To give you some context, over the last year we've been considering our new direction, or direction at Sport New Zealand, and we announced our Sport New Zealand Group Strategic Plan a couple of weeks ago, with the Minister announcing that in a school, Lowell-based school in Wellington. It's taken us a year or so to pull together thoughts around this, and the customer is at the heart of that strategy going forward. To put it in some context, the aim of the strategy is to ensure that New Zealand is is the world's most successful sporting nation. That is what we want to achieve. The sum total of everyone in this room and what we do is to be regarded and seen as the world's most successful sporting nation. Through more kids, more adults, and more winning per capita. That's what we want to do. How we actually want to achieve that is by building a world-leading sports system. And that world-leading sports system starts in this room with all of you as the sport leaders. It's very much around, as all good coaches would say, it's about focusing on the processes and allowing the winning or the outcome to take care of themselves. So for us, it's very much around looking at what's inside that system and how we can improve it. The reality is that we're doing a pretty damn good job at the moment. We could sit here as a sector with a pretty good scorecard. We have a huge amount that we can be proud of as a sector. Some of the results that we are producing are world leading already. Last year, our young people in a global survey were rated first equal in terms of kids' participation in the world. We know that nearly 90% of our kids are doing 3 hours or more of physical activity in any given week. And adults, our active New Zealand survey which just come out, 74% of adults doing a sport and recreation activity once a week, which is a number which is extremely high when you compare that to the rest of the world. You look in high performance, you take London Olympic and Paralympic Games, fourth on the medals per capita in Olympic Games, and first in the Paralympic. A very, very significant result, and that's flown on to this year being one of our most successful years in Olympic sport in terms of the amount of world champions and podium finishes. At the moment, we're still world rugby champions, softball, surf lifesaving. There's a number where we champion the world. So for a small nation, these are truly exceptional results. So how do we do all of that? Why are we so good? Why is it that we have lots of success? And I think it stems very much from the fact that down through the generations, Kiwis have played sport and loved sport. As a result, we're a very sporty nation, and we're actually pretty bloody good at it. It's actually part of our culture. It's part of who we are. I think we all understand that in this room. So that playful upbringing that we've all had leads to high participation rates, which means that we do produce a lot of sporty kids who actually fill our sporting pathways in huge numbers, and then some of them, the very best, go on to be the very best in the world. You know, we've sustained that generation after generation. It is part of our sporting heritage. But I think as sport leaders, we should be very, very worried right now. Worried because that sporting heritage that we have cannot be taken for granted. I do think that our sporting mojo is very much under threat, as it is all around the world, with participation rates falling. We've got a good scorecard, but the world is changing dramatically on us. Sedentary lifestyles, technology, change in ethnic diversity, certainly in this beautiful city of Auckland, urbanisation, all of these things are having a major impact on sport and how it's consumed moving forward. All of these we see around the world are impacting participation rates, and they are falling. At the moment we're holding the line. Ours are not falling, which is great, but I think we'd be naive if we didn't look out to see what the rest of the world is doing. Really interesting, last year Chris Quinn, CEO from Spark, said, "The world does not look like me anymore." That was a quote from his presentation last year, and it took me a little bit to actually work out what he was saying. But I look around this room, and we all look pretty much the same. But the ethnic diversity of this country is far greater than what's in this room. And a lot of those, half of the population of Auckland by 2020, I think, is going to be anything other than Pākehā. So these are things that are going to change our sporting landscape significantly. Unless we as sport leaders reconcile and understand that, then we're going to get left behind. What we've done, and you can see out in the foyer, we have produced a report into the future of sport in New Zealand. It's a very interesting read. Feel free to take one out in the lobby there. It sets out some of those challenges that we think are facing sport in this country as we move forward. That's why we decided to dedicate this conference to the customer. We know that those societal changes are impacting participation rates and participation types. The challenge facing us all is that traditionally, I think we're viewed as something that sport is what people do rather than what they consume. We can no longer take for granted that they will continue to consume as they have in the past. We are in the business of sport, and if we are in the business of sport, I would argue to you that we're ultimately in a consumer-facing business. If we're in a consumer-facing business, then we in this room should be obsessed about the customer, who they are, where they are, what they want to do, and why. So let's hear a little bit from our customers and what they're feeling and thinking about sport.
Hi, will you talk to us about sport?
Do you want to talk about sport, Mark? No, he doesn't.
Sport. I don't even play sport myself.
What sort of sports do you play?
Armchair sports.
No.
I haven't played a sport since I was at college.
I play golf once a week and then have beers.
I probably run 1 to 2 times a week, which actually means one.
I don't know, lazy.
Well, when I leave the gym, I think that's an hour of my life I will never get back again.
Subs are so expensive.
Especially with athletics, the expense is quite major.
Responsibilities at home?
If they were cheaper.
Cost to get to games and stuff, got to fork out a bit of money.
My workplace would pay for the costs.
Like the fees.
Yeah, make them.
Yeah.
Like bring them down, the fees.
Yeah.
$80 to play rugby. What the?
Being a working mum is trying to find the right times to fit it in.
There's not as much stuff that I can do in the weekends.
The homework and fitting everything in.
Yeah, church, and like church is a big thing for us. Family stuff.
I enjoy cricket, but it's too long.
We have 2 teenagers and one nearly a teenager. This is probably one of the busiest times in a parent's life.
I think it's one of the hardest things about being a coach is the time commitment that's required for that.
Not always easy for people to get time off work, especially when they're volunteers.
Like with Max's swimming lessons, I'm not sure if we'll make it to all 12 of them.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, rest Friday, compete Saturday, train Sunday.
I probably wouldn't join a rugby club or anything like that. It's a bit too much of a commitment.
It's not just about you not making training, it's about you letting the team down.
If you want to be good, training is involved. You have to spend more time in the weeknights, spending time with 2 young kids, young family.
If you can't turn up for 1 week, you get penalised for it.
I'm not really competitive at all. I like to sort of get some exercise and just have a bit of fun with friends.
I just want to play with my mates. I don't care about winning the game.
But not too aggressively competitive.
To be in a class that's non-judgmental.
I started swimming and I'd really like to be part of a group. I just don't think that they want people like me. They want more competitive and better swimmers.
I walk, I garden and I belly dance.
No, I don't really like rugby. I'd rather go skateboarding.
My favourite sport is snowboarding.
Emma didn't want to do a Saturday soccer or hockey games every weekend, but she was really keen on biking. I love the NBA basketball, but the school only has one team, so I can't play.
I was a little bit scared about how my body would be able to perform because I'd been quite inactive and sore for so long.
I don't really know anyone when I started athletics.
In terms of netball and indoor soccer, I think it's really hard to get started. You don't know the rules.
Often cricket's considered quite a complex game, and if you haven't played it, it can seem quite daunting.
I'm just being a part of a group, so if like my friends were doing it, I'd definitely be keen to do it.
Like more facilities, I reckon. Yep. Like in neighbourhoods like Cannons Creek. Cannons Creek represent. We're from Cannons Creek side.
Well, I have a condition which means that I have good days and bad days, and being able to choose when I come here is a really big part of why I come here.
If my schedule changes at work, I can join in a game that suits me best.
I need the facilities, I need my hair straighteners.
Transport, because I don't have a car.
At Johnsonville, we've set up coaching clinics.
Just good support and flexibility.
It's nice to have people like myself who've represented New Zealand come back and give their experiences and bring it back into the community.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's why I know nothing about sports. Sorry.
No thanks, I'm alright.
I'm not a big follower of mainstream sports.
I don't think they want me. I'm just not the target market.
I just don't like sports, so I don't do it.
I don't really think sports in New Zealand care about people like me.
Interesting, relevant, sobering. I think what it says is the world is shifting. Customers now have choice. People who play sport have choice. More choices than they ever had before, and they're voting with their feet based on their perceived experience and perceived value. So if you want your organisation to survive in this new world, you're going to have to need to understand the customers' wants and their changing demands. I think for too long we've accepted that we've taken a supply-driven approach to sport. We're supplying pretty much the same products as we did in our grandparents' day, without really considering the wants and needs of customers. I think to survive we have to change that approach to be far more demand-driven than ever before. I think that comes from one, being self-aware that we need to understand that they are customers and they do have a choice. We need to have greater insights into what's happening in sport, not only what is happening but why. So that's around human behaviour. And we also need more and new capability inside our organisations. Interesting for you chairs out there, how many people on your board have a marketing background? We're pretty quick to put a lawyer and an accountant on a board, but how many times are we deliberately going out and looking at getting people who understand the market onto boards to bring that capability within the organisation? So the next couple of days is very much around walking in the customer's shoes. A good example of that is this photo. A young chap on a skateboard park. What we know from our young people's survey, talking about insights, is that more kids want to do more skateboarding than ever before. So how many people in education looking at that, and how many skateboard parks do we have inside schools? If it's really what the kids want to do, surely the skateboard park should be in schools, but they're not. So that is, we're quite quick to put up a netball hoop, a rugby post, soccer posts. We're not so quick to put up skateboard parks, and maybe we are not listening right. The next 2 days we're going to talk about lots of different things. You're going to have some wonderful people speaking to you about technology and the importance of technology, about the fan and the challenges of keeping them involved and watching. Talk about our kids and their changing variety of what they want to do. We're talking about the athlete, the elite athlete of today and tomorrow, and what some of the challenges that they have facing them, and also the general public, the new experience that they want from a sport and events. I do think we are changing, and without question people in this room are going through that change. We've got 3-on-3 basketball, we've got futsal, we've got mates and bowls, we've got 20-20 cricket, we've got 5-on-5 hockey, 7-a-side, 9-a-side, fast net. We've got a whole variety of new sports that are arriving. We've also got a lot of modified sport now around taster events, small whites, little sticks, hot shots, you name it. There's a whole variety of them. I do wonder though whether many of those have actually been driven from the supply side rather than the demand side. They're coming from looking at it from the sport perspective, thinking, gee, we must need to change here, without really understanding the customer and what they might want. So I think over the next 5 years you're going to hear a lot about the customer, about our participants, about the elite athlete from the Sport New Zealand group, which includes the high performance strategic plan and the community sport plan. But for the next couple of days we're going to immerse ourselves in walking in the customer's shoes, and as Dave said, I think we've pulled together an amazing array of presenters who are going to challenge, who are going to make you slightly uncomfortable, and hopefully get you stimulated to think about things in a far, far different way. The conference would never be complete without the sector awards tonight. It's a great opportunity for us to showcase all the things that we do and do so well, and celebrate success. And 2014 was a very successful year, and I look forward to the event this evening. So that's it. That's our sector. That's our conference. I look forward to working with you over the next 2 days. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy lives to come for these 2 days. I always feel it's a chance to come to get away from the day-to-day rigour and sit yourself on the balcony and start to think a little bit more in a strategic way. And I'd suggest to you none more so than think about what it means to be the customer and spend a little bit of time walking in the customer's shoes over the next 2 days. Thank you very much.